Welcome to What's in the Pot. I'm your host, Sean Grande, and today I'm going to show you how to make Halal Guys style chicken over rice with white sauce and your own homemade falafel. That's right, your own homemade falafel. You don't need to go to the store, the halal cart anymore. I'm going to show you how to make it today on What's in the Pot. Also, shout out to my brother, Mr. Flavor Saver. This is a variation on his Halal Guys copycat recipe, so I'm going to post a link to his video below because he's got a wicked hot sauce that you can try out as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. It's What's in the Pot. Thank you very much for tuning into What's in the Pot. So for our chicken, I'm using 3 boneless chicken thighs. You can use chicken breast as well if you don't have it on hand, but the chicken thighs work better. Now I'm using 2 teaspoons of adobo seasoning. This is my homemade adobo. 1 teaspoon of cayenne, 1 teaspoon of finely chopped garlic. You can use fresh garlic or minced garlic. Half a teaspoon of parsley, half a teaspoon of oregano, and half a teaspoon of coriander powder, and also half a teaspoon of black pepper. What we're going to do is we're going to throw all these seasonings in, and we're going to be adding a couple more things, and we're going to give it a good marinade. Now I'm using 1 teaspoon of vinegar, and I'm also using 1 teaspoon of lime juice or half of a small lime. It's really up to you, whatever you have on hand. Our final ingredient we'll be adding is 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Once you've added olive oil, make sure you mix the chicken, make sure all the flavors, everything gets coated into the chicken, and let that sit in the fridge for a minimum of 1 hour. For my seasonings for the falafel, I have 1 teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of coriander, a pinch of paprika, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, normally you'd use just strictly parsley or cilantro or a mixture. I have about a tablespoon of green seasoning, Trinidad green seasoning, and about 2 tablespoons of dry parsley. I'm using 1 small onion and 1 clove of garlic chopped up. And I'm also going to be using 1 cup of chickpeas. Now this is dry chickpeas that I soaked overnight. You just want to make sure you use the dry chickpeas. It actually gives it a lot better taste and flavor. Now I'm going to be adding my chickpeas to the food processor first because, you know, you can see here I have a little bit of a smaller food processor, so I can't put everything all at once. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing it in a couple different layers in a way where I'm doing the chickpeas first. I've taken the chickpeas out. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the onions and the garlic because you want to have everything nice and minced together. So what I want to do is I'm going to add the onions and garlic, let that get a little bit minced up first. Then I'm going to be adding back the chickpeas into it, and then we're going to create the whole mixture with the rest of the ingredients. And you only really need to use this process that I'm doing here if you have a smaller food processor like mine. Trust me, I did get a new one, so in the later videos, if I make anything in the food processor, I ain't going to be doing it like this. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dump everything into the bowl. Once I've added everything into the bowl, now I'm going to start incorporating the other set of ingredients. And I'm going to give everything just one quick final mix before I start adding our seasonings and our spices. So I have my Trinidad green seasoning mixture, and I also have my dry parsley. Always, if you have fresh parsley, go ahead and use that, and you can use about 3/4 of a cup of fresh parsley or half a cup. Now I'm going to go ahead and start adding my spices into the mixture. The one thing I'm also going to be add is 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder dissolved in 3 tablespoons of water. What this does, it gives the falafel a nice airy and fluffy texture when we fry them. This is our final mixture. You remember, if you have a bigger food processor, follow the same steps, but just throw everything in the food processor. Now I'm going to put this in the fridge for about an hour, and then we're going to start making our white sauce. Now for the white sauce, I'm going to start with 1 cup of Greek yogurt. I'm using this Greek organic yogurt. You can use any kind of yogurt you like. I just like the texture and the flavor of the Greek yogurt. I'm also adding 1 cup of mayo. You remember, mayonnaise, you don't want to be adding Miracle Whip. You want to actually add real mayonnaise, so Hellmann's or anything like that will work. And I'm adding 2 tablespoons of water, and I'm also going to be adding 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I'm also going to be adding 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now the sugar is totally optional, so you don't have to add the sugar. I just like the little bit of the contrast with the sweetness and the vinegar. I'm also adding half a teaspoon of parsley flakes. And I'm also going to be adding half a teaspoon of salt, because you don't want to add too much salt. You want to taste all the flavors. You don't want to be too salty. I'm also 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, salt and pepper to taste, and half a teaspoon of garlic, because in Trinidad we have kind of a garlic sauce. So I like to kind of collaborate the both Trinidad style with the typical Halal Guys white sauce. And I'm adding 1 teaspoon of green seasoning. So we want to make sure we give that a good mix. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of lime juice or lemon juice, whichever you have on hand, or half a lime. Give that a good mix, and that's going to combine all the flavors. The lime juice is going to amplify the creaminess. That's our sauce. We want to make sure we put that in the fridge for at least 1 hour. To start the rice, I'm going to melt 1 tablespoon of butter and add some seasonings into that butter, which is 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and half a teaspoon of paprika. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of salt later on. We want to let these spices fry up with the butter. After frying up for a couple minutes, we're going to be adding our rice. I'm adding 2 cups of rice into this, and we're going to let this rice get toasted with our turmeric and our cumin and a little bit of paprika. This is what it's going to give it that nice yellow color when we're making our rice. You get that nice smell from the cumin and the turmeric together. Now I've let this toast for maybe about 2 to 3 minutes. Now it's just 2 cups of rice, so I'm adding about 2 1/4 cups of water. I like to add a little bit more water at the start and adding my 1 teaspoon of salt. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let this cook on a medium heat until the rice is absorbed, or the water is absorbed into the rice. You can also use a chicken stock or vegetable stock. Now I'm going to start frying my chicken. It has been marinating in the fridge for a couple hours, so I have my skillet on a medium heat, and we just want to let this fry until it's cooked thoroughly on both sides. What I like to do is I like to put it on one side and let that fry up really good and get nice and crispy. Give that nice crispy coating, and then we're going to put the lid on, and in about 5 to 10 minutes we're going to flip it. So this has been about maybe 6 or 7 minutes actually, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it. You can kind of see a little bit of that crispiness that's starting to get coated on the outside. It's getting nice that brown color. Now with the rice, I'm also going to be adding 1 teaspoon of Badia Complete seasoning. I just want to add a little bit extra flavor with the rice. If you don't want to add that, you don't have to. Now you can see the chicken here is still cooking. I would say you cook this chicken about maybe 20 to 25 minutes. That is our chicken finally cooked. A little bit nice and crispy on the edges there. I like that little bit of brownness that you get. You don't want the chicken to be too soft. The rice is completely done. The rice has been cooking for about 25 minutes. I'm just going to add a little bit of parsley to add a little bit of color into it. And that is our final product. Our rice is completely finished. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start making some falafels. I have my oil set to about a medium-high heat. Now we've taken this falafel mixture out of the fridge, because when we put it in the fridge, it actually makes it a little bit more firm and a little bit easier to fry. So you want to take it out of the fridge and maybe for about 30 minutes before you fry, because you don't want to fry them cold. You just want to fry them and make sure they fry thoroughly. Now I like to make them into kind of not so much of a ball, but kind of like a hockey puck, and about a 1-inch thick. You don't want them to be too big and you don't want them to be too small. And you can see this is the texture that we want. We want them kind of golden brown on both sides. I'm going to kind of zoom into one here, and you can see the beautiful golden brown color. That's what we're looking for. So everything is finished cooking. So we're gonna plate this up, man. I had to plate it up like if you're getting it from the halal cart. I didn't have that foil tray, so I had to use a little styrofoam. That's our chicken. You can see it's nice and juicy. It's cooked thoroughly, and the edges are nice and crunchy. That's what we want. We want that nice crispy crunchy edges with all that flavor, all that seasoning. So I'm gonna throw some chicken on top of that rice, because remember, this is chicken over rice, but you can't forget that falafel. The falafels are perfectly golden brown color. So I'm going to probably give myself maybe about 4 or 5 falafels. And this is the absolute plate. Now for me, I don't care for the salad. I usually ask for extra rice. So you can go ahead and add some salad and a pita to this as well. And you can't forget that white sauce. You got to drizzle a little bit on. Normally if this is just for myself and not the video, the whole thing would be covered in white sauce. Now for hot sauce, you can use a Trini style hot sauce, or you can use like this Louisiana style hot sauce. I prefer Louisiana style hot sauce with my chicken over rice. But this is the recipe. This is how you make Halal Guys copycat chicken over rice recipe with my own homemade falafel. Shout out to Mr. Flavor Saver for the collaboration. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. But this is it. This is super simple, super easy to do. You're never going to buy takeout again. Thank you very much for tuning into What's in the Pot. Till next time. Peace.